everyone, it's Sarah. Welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to crochet the Opa's hat. Now this is a bucket hat that's made out of cotton yarns that's perfect for summer. And as a matter of fact, I made this hat for my husband when he's mowing the lawn or riding on the tractor. It's starting to get a little worn, and I'm going to make him another one, and so I thought it would be a good opportunity to update the pattern and show you how to make one as well. Now the hat will fit a head that's about 20 to 22 inches, and I'll explain a little more how to make it bigger or smaller in a little bit. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make this bucket hat, you're going to need about 4 ounces of a main color and then about an ounce of your contrast color. And I really recommend that you use a medium number 4 cotton. But I've noticed that the Comfy Cotton Blend from Lion brand, the texture is about the same thickness as a regular cotton yarn, and it states that it's a 3, but I'm going to use it anyway because you can see here that the texture is about the same. As a matter of fact, it almost looks a little bigger than my basic Peaches and Cream that's a number 4 medium weight yarn. So that's another option if you've purchased some of these Comfy Cotton Blends from Lion brand. It's a good choice for this hat, and that's what I'm going to be using. The name of this one is called Fireside, and I like it because it's got some different grays and browns and even a little bit of red in it, and I think it's going to look really cute for a hat for my husband. And I'm going to use this cream for the trim here, and the trim on the edge of the hat. Alright, so about 4 ounces of your main color and about an ounce and a half of your contrasting color of yarn. We're going to be using an eye hook. The eye hook that I'm using today is a 5.25 millimeter crochet hook. Now, if you're making this hat for someone whose head is a little bit smaller, you can always go down a hook size or 2. If you're making it for someone whose head is a little bit bigger, you can always go up a hook size or 2. Because this is a summer weight hat, and it's okay if it's a little bit holey as long as it keeps the sun off the top of their head, and the brim is for keeping the sun off the back of their neck and also off your eyes. So it's okay to adjust the hook size. And I always tell people to measure as you go. If you're working on it and you've measured it with your tape measure and it's coming out smaller or bigger than you like, you can adjust your hook size without making the entire hat and feeling frustrated. Alright, and the last things that you'll need, of course, is a needle for weaving in your ends and your scissors. We're starting at the top of the hat, or the crown of the hat, and so I'm going to be using my main color. I'm going to make a slip knot and chain 5. I'm going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So I'll put the tail of the yarn over my hook and pull it through that loop. And then I'll just snug that down and tie that stay knot so that that circle stays a circle. Alright, now I'm going to put the tail of my yarn on this side and my working yarn on this side. I'm going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as my first double crochet. Now I'm going to double crochet 9 more in this chain 5 circle, and that will get me a total of 10 double crochets. Because remember, our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet. And just a reminder, a double crochet, you yarn over, go in the stitch or loop you're working in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through the second 2 loops. The reason that I'm stitching over this tail of yarn is so that I can close this hole up in just a second, and I'll show you that as well. All right, let me count and see how many double crochets I've made. Here's my chain 3 that counts as my first one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so I need to stitch one more. So I have 10 stitches. All right, I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. All right, so now I have 10 double crochets. One of them, of course, is my chain 3. I joined and chain 3. Now I'm going to turn this over, and I'm just going to gently pull on that string, and that's going to close up that hole. And then I can come back in and weave that in later. And this is the way that row 1 should look. For row 2, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to double crochet right in that same stitch as that chain 3. Then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of these double crochets around. And so we're going to go from having 10 double crochets to having 20. Two double crochets in each of the double crochets around. Then we'll join back to that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. I've stitched 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around, so now I have 20 double crochets. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. All right, now for row 3, we're going to repeat what we did on row 2. The only difference is, of course, we're going to have more stitches. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. And then we'll place 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around. And so we have 20 double crochets. We're placing 2 double crochets in each of those 20 double crochets, and so we'll have 40 double crochets. And the reason that we're doing it this way is we want the top of the hat to be flat. That way it resembles the bucket hat style. So for row 3, we're stitching 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. And again, we're going to stitch those 2, working all the way around, and join to the top of our chain 3. I've completed row 3, stitching 2 double crochets in each double crochet around, and now I have 40 double crochets. For row 4, of course, we've joined to the top of our chain 3 and chained 3. We're going to stitch a second double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're going to just stitch 1 double crochet in the next. And for row 4, we're going to be doing what I call 1 and 2. So we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet in the next. And we'll repeat this all the way around. So 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in the next, and repeat 2 and 1. 2 and 1. Two double crochets in the next and 1 in the next. And we'll repeat this, working all the way around our hat, and again join to the top of our chain 3. I've completed that row of stitching 1 and 2, or 2 and 1. It's the same thing. 2 double crochets in one, 1 in the next, all the way around. Join to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch and chained 3. Now for this row, we're going to do a similar technique. The only difference is we're going to put 2 together and then do 2 individual. So we're doing 2 and 2. So we have our chain 3. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in that same stitch as our chain 3. And then we'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2. Well, that's why I call it 2 and 2. All right, so the next stitch, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. And then the next stitch, we're going to stitch 1 and then 1 in the next stitch. So 2 and 2. And this is what we'll repeat working around for row 5. 2 double crochets in the next, and 1 double crochet in the next 2. And you'll notice that the top of our hat is nice and flat, and we want to keep it that way. One double crochet in the next 2, and 2 double crochets in the next. 2 and 2. And one thing to remember on this row is if it's curling up a little bit, you might be stitching too loosely, and you want to make sure that your stitches are nice and snug in there and that this row 5 lays nice and flat. So I'm going to continue working around, stitching 2 and 2, 2 double crochets in the next, and 1 double crochet in the next 2, working all the way around row 5, and then I'll join to the top of that chain 3. But we're not going to chain 3 at the end of row 5 because we're going to be changing colors and doing that little trim row. So we're just going to repeat 2 and 2 all the way around, then we'll join to the top of our chain 3. I've completed row 5 stitching 2 and 2, 2 double crochets in one stitch and 1 double crochet in the next 2, working all the way around. I joined to my chain 3, but I did not chain 3. And that's because we're going to join in our contrasting color to use for that little trim that goes around the top. Now, do not cut off your main color. We're going to leave that attached, and we're going to go ahead and join in our second color, or color 2. Snug that down. Let's move that tail out of the way and just chain 1, and that just gets us up to the top. Now we're going to be stitching a single crochet in the front loops of row 5. And if you look at the top, you'll notice there are loops on both sides of the tops of those stitches. We're going to be stitching in the loops that are on the front, and the front loops are the loops that are facing you. The back loops are the loops that are facing away. And so what we're going to do on row 6 is we're going to stitch in the front loops only. And then when we go to row 7, we're going to be stitching in the back loops. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go in this front loop only and stitch a single crochet. And we'll do this all the way around. We're not increasing or decreasing. We're stitching one single crochet, which is go through the loop, pull up that loop, yarn over, and go through both. And we're only stitching in the front loop. Now, you'll notice that there'll be a line of loops across here. And we're going to come back in and stitch in those loops on row 7. All right, and that's the way that it should look. So we're going to go in the front loops only and stitch one single crochet in each of those front loops. And again, the front loop is the loop that's closest to you, and the back loop is the stitch that's facing away from you. So we're stitching one single crochet in each of the front loops from row 5. This is how it should look on the front, and this is how it should look on the back. I've stitched that single crochet working all the way around in that front loop. I'm going to join to the first single crochet, not the chain 1, but the first single crochet with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to cut my yarn, because we're finished with that for right now. All right, so I'm going to go to the next stitch. I'm going to pull that loop to the inside and tie that off. And we're going to weave those in to the inside. All right, so now for row 7, we're going to bring back our main color. And this is the reason I didn't have you cut it, because you'd have an extra string you'd have to weave in there. It just saves you a little time. So what we're going to do is, see these loops back here we didn't stitch in from row 5? We stitched our single crochets in the front loop, and now we're going to stitch in those back loops. So we're going to put our hook through, we're going to pull up and chain 3. And then we're going to work around those stitches, stitching one double crochet in each of those stitches. So we'll go to the next one and stitch a double crochet. And we'll do this all the way around our hat. Now, you'll notice your strings from your previous row. We're just going to go under there, and we're going to pull those strings to the inside of the hat. It's going to get it out of the way, and it's also going to make it so that when we weave them in, they're on the inside of our hat. All right, so now we're going to continue stitching around, stitching one double crochet in each of the stitches around, working in the back loops only. And what we're doing now is we're beginning to work the sides of the hat. So, one double crochet in each stitch around, working in the back loops only, and that's the way that it will look. This row here is supposed to stand up just a little bit. All right. So here we go. One double crochet in each stitch around till we get back to that chain 3, and we'll join to the chain 3. I completed row 7, stitching 1 double crochet in each stitch around, stitching in the back loops, because remember, row 6 we stitched our single crochets in the front loops. And now for the next 5 rows we're going to be doing 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join and chain 3. So I've gone ahead and joined and I chained 3. And so now I'm going to stitch 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We're not stitching in the front or back loops, we're just stitching regular, going through both those loops and stitching our double crochets. And we'll stitch 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join to the top of the chain 3, and repeat for 5 more rows, so that we have 6 rows of double crochets. 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join to the top of the chain 3 and chain 3, and repeat up through row 12. I've completed those rows up through our 12, which gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of double crochet for the side of our hat. I joined to my chain 3, but I did not chain 3. We don't want to chain 3 after our 12 because we're switching colors. We're bringing in our contrasting color, which is the same color we used for our trim up here. And again, we're not going to cut our main color yarn. We're going to just let it hang there. And what we're going to do is just chain 2. And the reason we're only chaining 2 is because we're going to do 2 rows of half double crochet. And it's going to give us a little bit of a look of a hat band and just some contrast. So what we're going to do is place 1 half double crochet in each of these double crochets. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops. That's our half double crochet, and we're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the double crochets around. Okay, so 1 half double crochet in each double crochet around, working all the way around the hat, and then we'll join back to our chain 2. I stitched that row of half double crochets in the contrasting color. I joined to the chain 2 and chain 2, and we're just going to repeat what we did. We're going to stitch 1 half double crochet in each of the half double crochets around. And we're still using our contrasting color. One half double crochet in each of the half double crochets around, working all the way around our hat, and then once again we'll join to our chain 2. And then we're going to change back to our main color and stitch the hat brim. I've completed that second row of half double crochets, And now I'm going to cut my yarn again for the contrasting color. And I'm going to bring back in my main color. All right. Just be careful not to pucker that up. And we're going to chain 3. We'll stitch 1 double crochet in the same stitch as the chain 3, and then we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Then in the next stitch we're going to stitch 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. And this is going to be the repeat for this row. 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then 2 double crochets in the next. And repeat. 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and 2 double crochets in the next. And this is going to give us just a little bit of flare, enough for the brim of the hat to keep the sun out of our eyes and off the back of our neck. So we'll continue to repeat 1 double crochet in the next 3 and 2 double crochets in the next. And we'll repeat this all the way around. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochets in the next. And like I said, we're going to repeat this all the way around, and then we'll join back to our chain 3. I've completed that row of stitching 1 double crochet in each of the next, and then 2 double crochets in the next. Repeat all the way around. And now for our next row, we join to the top of our chain 3, and we chain 3, and now we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of these double crochets around. Just to make the brim of the hat a little bit longer. So 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, and then we'll join back to that chain 3. Oops, there we go. All right, so just 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. We'll join back around to the top of our chain 3. I've completed that second row of double crochet, just stitching 1 double crochet in each stitch around. And then I joined to the chain 3, but I only chained 1. And that's because this next row is just a row of single crochets. So we'll just go right in that next stitch and stitch a single crochet, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet in each of the stitches around. We have this row and then 1 more, and we'll be finished with our Opa's hat. So what we're doing here is just stitching 1 single crochet in each of the stitches around, working all the way around the bottom edge of our hat. And by stitching a row of single crochets here, it's going to help the brim of the hat hold its shape. So one single crochet in each of the stitches, working all the way around the brim of our hat, and then we'll join back to our first single crochet, and then we're going to change back to our contrasting color for our last row. So just to repeat, one single crochet in each stitch around. I've stitched that row of single crochet all the way around the brim of my hat, and I join back to my first single crochet, and we're going to cut our yarn. We're going to bring back in our contrasting color, which I'm using this cream color, and then we're just going to repeat what we did on the previous row. We're just going to stitch one single crochet in each of the single crochets around. We're stitching one single crochet in each single crochet around the brim of the hat, and we'll do this all the way around, and we'll join back to that first single crochet. We'll tie off, and we'll be all finished except for weaving in the ends. And that's why I had you carry your yarn from your main color across up here and down here, because it eliminates a couple of places where we have to weave in our yarn. So I'm just going to continue working around the brim of the hat, stitching one single crochet in each single crochet around. Then I'll join back to that first single crochet and tie off. I've completed this last row of single crochet. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch. I'm going to go to the next stitch and pull that loop to the back and tie off. Now I do have, a little bit of weaving in to do, but my hat is complete. We'll just tuck those strings in and weave those in a little bit. But this makes a great Father's Day hat for Grandpa, for Uncle, for Dad, for brother, or anyone who needs a vacation hat or a hat to help keep the sun out of their eyes. It works up quick and it's really easy to make. Now, you can make this with acrylic yarn, medium weight number 4 yarn. Just keep in mind it's not going to be as cool or absorb the sweat like cotton yarns will.